Let me say done. Okay, guys, as I've indicated, it is a revision that we're going to be doing on this specific topic. What I'm going to do now, it is to share my screen, and I would like for you guys to confirm if the screen is sharing. Let's see, guys, can you confirm? Are you able to see my screen? Is it sharing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then it's fine. I see Amos Wild has joined. So the reason why we start with a revision, it's so that when we get to some more complicated problems, at least you guys will have an idea of the topic that we are going to be looking at. But very quickly, what I'm going to do on my side, it is to just read through the given statement, look at that diagram, go through the questions, and I'll give you guys an opportunity to go through those, and then you submit immediately, so that towards the end of the lesson, we are going to very quickly do the corrections. So question number 3, in the diagram, we are given a point being point A having the coordinates of 6 and -2. 6 and -2, yes, it does make sense to be in that quadrant because X is positive, Y is negative. And then we've got point B having the coordinates of 2 and 15. Yes, it makes sense to be in that quadrant because all the X and Y values are positive in that quadrant. And then we've got point C. Yes, -4 and 3. It makes sense for it to be in that quadrant. Those are the vertices of triangle A, B, and C. M is the midpoint. Remember, the word midpoint refers to the middle point. So A, it is, M, it is the midpoint of AB. N is a point on CA, okay, such as that MN, where is MN? This MN is perpendicular to BC. Where is BC? There is BC. Okay, so that diagram, it looks like everything, it is represented on that statement, except that important information where we can see on the diagram that BM is equals to AM. That we can see because of those signs. So now, with regards to the questions, 3.1, they want you to determine the coordinates of M. The coordinates of M, which is the middle point or the midpoint of AB. That question is allocated 2 marks. It shouldn't be a complicated question. Now they want you to determine the gradient of line MN. And remember, I've always said analytical geometry is a game of 2 things. You must either have 2 points, if not 2 points. If you've got the lines which may be parallel, you just need to remember that parallel lines equal gradients. And then you just need 1 point because you'll be having gradient and a point. Otherwise, if for some reason you have perpendicular lines, you don't just assume lines to be perpendicular. It's either you must be told in the statement or there must be that sign of a box at the corner which shows it's a perpendicular line. So for perpendicular lines, we know that when you multiply gradient of line 1 with gradient of line 2, they must be equals to -1. Okay, now there's a question which says hence or otherwise, determine the equation of line MN. MN in the form that. Okay, let me not say much. And then they say calculate calculate with reasons the coordinates of N. The coordinates of N. So there must be a reason why you are going to calculate the way you are going to calculate, but the coordinates of N is what they want you to do. So now they say if A, B, C, D in that order is a parallelogram, determine the coordinates of D. And that point D is a new point that they never talked about. It only comes as a question. So what you must do, honorable member, try to think of a suitable point where that point can be D. If you don't know what a parallelogram is, you won't be able to locate that point. A parallelogram, two opposite sides must be parallel. So that means you see BC. BC, try to construct AD, which can be parallel to BC. And at the same time, a BA or AB must also be parallel to CD. So you can sort of have an idea of where that point is. As soon as you locate that point, you just need to remember that when it comes to a parallelogram, the diagonal lines, they share the middle point, the diagonal lines. Once you know that, then you will know that if I have one point and the midpoint of the diagonal lines, then I can use the midpoint formula to get to a new point. I just don't want to say much because I'll end up giving you guys a hint. I would like for you to give it a try, fail, and then from there, we do the corrections. Did you guys hear all that I've explained, which serves as some tip for you guys?
Yes, sir.
Ningzwile nonke?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then it's fine. Let me go back to the question. As soon as you are done, what you do, you just take a photo, send to me via WhatsApp inbox. That's how you submit. I will check it, and then we do the corrections. Preferably, let's see, exactly at 19:45, the latest, you should be done or submitting. If you finish before that time, can just verify your answers, but we'll use the last 15 minutes to do corrections. I'll just mute myself in the meantime. Make sure to take a screenshot just in case if the screen disappears, at least you know you've got the question itself. Okay. Okay, guys. I did notice, I'm going to do corrections. Okay, I did notice that you guys did submit. So very quickly, we can make use of this time to then do the corrections. I was just waiting. To check what you guys were submitting. Okay, so guys, I believe all of you guys have submitted, and I just want to quickly check. Are you ready for the corrections? Can you hear me? Is everything okay on your side?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then it's fine. And let me do these. No. What did I do now? Yes.
May I please ask a question?
Okay. Yes, you can ask a question. What's your question?
Sir, I'm new here, so I don't know, where do I submit?
You send me a WhatsApp inbox with the photo of your answers.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Then it's fine. So, guys, this is what happens. The first question where they say determine the coordinates of M, that is the midpoint of AB. So very quickly, let's check. Maybe let's not waste much of our time on that one. I'm hoping everyone. So the midpoint, you will obviously take your 6 plus 2, that is 7, 8. You divide it by 2, it gives you 4 already. And then you take your 15 minus that, you divide it by 2, it'll be 13 over 2. I believe this should be our coordinate. Do you guys agree with me on that one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And it's fine. So 3.2 determine the gradient of line MN. Okay, so because MN is parallel to BC. So we will definitely use BC to determine its gradient, and its gradient will be equals to that of MN. So maybe again, without not wasting much of our time on this one, what did you guys as the gradient for that one? Obviously 15 minus 3, which is 12 over 2 minus that is minus 2, and then negative 1. What did you guys get?
I got 2, sir.
12 over 6. Yes, it's 12 over 6, which is 2. So that means the gradient for that also is equals to 2. So it does make sense for the gradient of that to be 2. So now they say hence or otherwise. These two words very much important, honorable members. Hence or otherwise. It simply means you might need to refer to the previous answer that you got, or what you have worked on previously. It may assist you to answer this specific question. So they want you to determine the equation of that. Remember, you just need two things, and you need to write it in that format. So you definitely have your coordinate and the gradient. So you can easily say, okay, I'm having 13 over 2 as my one. I'm just substituting now. The gradient is 2, your x being 4 there, plus c is what you're looking for. Then your c will end up being equals to 13 over 2 minus that times that, which is 8. It's like minusing 8 then you punch that in your calculator. What do you get? Let me quickly check. 13 over 2 and 13. No. Let me do this and say 13 over 2, where you minus 8, and then it gives that. So don't write it as a decimal, honorable members. Write it as a fraction. If you get your answer as a decimal in this topic, do not write it as a decimal unless if you are calculating an angle, which could be an angle of inclination. So now let's see. So that means you end up having y. Maybe let me write it then. Say you end up having y, which is equals to 2 minus 3 over 2. Do you guys have any questions on that one, or do you agree with what I've done up to this point?
Yes, sir. Understood.
But is it everyone who understood?
Yes, we understood.
Okay. Okay. 3.4. Honorable members, trust me when I say for 3.4, I don't think one needs to be a lawyer in order to reason for that one. And I don't think one needs to be that good with a Euclidean geometry, because from what I notice, honorable members, I've got, you see,
Sir,
yes.
sorry, I disconnected for a bit. Could you tell me the answer for 3.3?
3.3 is that one being y equals 2x minus 3 over 2. So I will just remind me to share the recording. You can request via WhatsApp inbox as soon as the lesson is done.
Okay.
Then you will click on the link, fast forward to 3.3 and check how I've done it. Nay.
Yes, sir.
Goodest. So I was saying, you see that line, honorable members, that line, it is parallel to that line. And you can see this one, it starts from the center, honorable members. It starts from the center. Surely, when it connects this side, that point should be the center of that line. Just like it is from the center of that line. And most importantly, it is parallel to that other line. It sounds like a verse from the Bible, but trust me, honorable members, if you give such as a reason, depending on how you use the English, what matters the most is that we are able to notice that this member of parliament has applied their mind, and what they are saying, it does make sense. So that means even if they use that point and that point in order to determine the middle point being point N, then we would agree with them. So that means your middle point, it will obviously, you can say 6, that you plus it by that, it becomes 2 over 2, and then you end up having a 1 there, because is that plus that, and then you end up having a that you plus it with that, where it gives you 1 over 2, and then you end up having a half there. I'm not sure if you guys understand what I've done there. I was a bit quick, but I'm curious to know if you guys understood what I've done. Does it make sense, honorable members?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Does
sir.
it everyone?
What would be the reasons, or do we just calculate midpoint?
No. Before you calculate, did you hear that mini prayer that I made before I started with the calculation?
No, sir, not where.
Are you sure? Are you sleeping in church, honorable member? What if Jesus came and he hugged all of us and we were sleeping? And now Jesus is gone. But just so that we make progress, honorable member, as soon as this lesson is done, remind me via WhatsApp inbox. I will also share with you so that you can catch up. But what I was saying was, this line is parallel to that line. and this line is from the center. So surely it must be connecting to the center, especially that where it comes from is from the center of that line. So with it being parallel to that other line, surely it must be connecting to the center of that line. So that is why we will therefore use these 2 points in order to find that point, which is supposed to be a point in the middle. So in the end, I said, use your own English to explain all of that. It will definitely make sense to someone who will be marking your script. So, okay, now 3.5, where they say, if A, B, C, D in that order, it is a parallelogram, determine the coordinates of point D. You will never be able to calculate the coordinates of point D if you do not have an understanding of what a parallelogram is. So it's unfortunate in grade 12, we don't teach about parallelograms. An assumption is that there's no way you can be in grade 12 without that understanding of a parallelogram. So that is why you either get it right or you get it wrong. That's it. And not because you don't know how to calculate, but because you do not know what a parallelogram is. Okay. So what I was saying was, we will definitely need to have a line which should be parallel and equal to that other line. It won't be accurate, but I will just try to an estimate there. So what I'm trying to say is this line must be parallel to that one, and this one must be parallel to that one. In that way, I know that the diagonal lines should be equal and share that middle point. So what I'm saying now is a point that we are looking for. It is this one, where we have the point. We are looking for a point, but we have a middle point. So that means we can still use the midpoint formula to get to the other point, because if we know x of the middle point, we will just take x of the other point, we plus it with x of the other point, we divide that by 2. X of the middle point is 1, x of the other point is 2, plus x at point D divided by 2. I'm just curious to know if I'm doing this correctly. Yes, I'm possibly doing it correctly, because what I drew there is not to scale. And then let's see, y of the middle point, you still do the same. By the way, here x at D, you will therefore find that it is a 0 by looking at that, because it's that times that minus that is that. And then y at the first point that you plus it with y the second point, you divide that by 2, and then we end up having 1 over 2 as y at the middle point. That other point there, what are we having? Is it 15? That we must plus it with y at point D divided by 2. And then that times that ends up giving us 1, we minus 15, we end up having y at point D being equals to negative 14. So remember, what did the question say? You must calculate the coordinates at point D. So this is the only way we represent the coordinates. You must do that, then you will say that and that. Something of this nature, honorable members. I haven't really checked if it's correct in the memo, but let me check. Do you guys understand what I've done? Do you agree with me or not? I'm also not sure, but this is what I'm thinking. I may have done it incorrectly, but let's see what you guys are thinking there. Guys, ningizwile nonke nivumelana nami, or do you guys disagree, or any questions? Did I make a mistake, Moleng? Looks like I made a mistake somewhere. see, 3/2. Let's see.
No, that was the old
I'm not
message.
sure where I made a mistake. Okay, no, then I see. But guys, do you agree with what I've done? Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
Yes, sir, it's clear, sir.
Sorry, honorable members, in case if what I've done there, what you've done or your understanding, let me know so that we can quickly discuss it. But are we on the same page? I'm about to run away now, but I
Yes,
want to
sir.
show before I do that. Asenya balega manje, Anosweld.
Yes, sir.
That is the way to go about it, honorable member. Can I run away?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you can run away.
Okay. Guys, you just need to remember that as we do not close. So that means as soon as you guys are closing on Friday, I know grade 12s, even in school, you don't close, but we continue to study ahead, knowingly that you do not have enough time, honorable members. It's not only for the grade 12s who will continue the lessons, but for all the learners. Close, we continue. Our next stop is after November examinations. Okay, guys. Hallelujah.